I want you guys to brace yourselves because when I saw this, and I got to give a shout out to Alyssa Deeds, who was the first person to send me this story. And I truly, truly appreciate her. Make sure you guys check out ElyssaDeeds.com as well as Facebook, Elyssa Deeds, and so many others. This story dominated my email, the afcmatters@gmail.com. Because when you read the title and you hear about this angle grinder, because I actually used to work at a company back in the day. I can say it now. It's been a long, long time. For Cooper Cameron, we used to build wellhead parts and work on big, huge steel parts. And one of the tools I used to have to operate with was an angle grinder. So I know how powerful they are, how dangerous they are, and how sick and demented a person has to be to take that against another human. Not only another human, but your own son. But let me give you guys a disclaimer before we start talking about this story real quick. Some viewers may find the following content offensive and controversial. The information in this video comes from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news web articles, and interviews. This video commentary also contains my personal opinions about the facts of this story. The point is to use this story as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like these to children going forward. Viewer discretion is advised. That is your official disclaimer. And I want to give I gotta stop doing that. I want to give a special shout out to YouTube and thank them so much for being more understanding about my content, because we haven't been getting demonetized as much lately, and I truly, truly appreciate that. Because I feel like I do a pretty good job of letting people know what type of content we stand for, what our advocacy is about. We advocate for children first to bring more attention to these stories. That baby that you guys see on my screen, 16 years old, he's still a very, very young man, and I can almost guarantee you, this might sound harsh, but I'm going to say it because I believe it. I believe, let me back it up. That young man that you guys see on the right-hand side of my screen would have been 10 to 25 times better than this alleged father of his. He was going to grow up and become something great. I think his father was probably jealous of that and ended this boy's life for absolutely no reason, probably just out of pure hate and jealousy. Let me tell you about this, and I'm getting this directly from the polksheriff.org website, so thank you very much for the article. On Labor Day, which was Monday, September the 4th, the Polk County Sheriff's Office arrested 37-year-old Stephen Thomas Rada of Lake Wales and charged him with first-degree murder and the homicide of his own 16-year-old son by the name of Stephen Lee Rada, R-O-D-D-A. That young man right there. That is so sad. Y'all, I want y'all to, and like I said, I know I talk about people's looks because I don't think that should bother people. Like, I don't know why that bothers people when I talk about people's looks who kill children. Why does that bother so many people? I still don't understand that. They killed a child. The most innocent, most defenseless people on our planet. The most unprotected group of people on our planet are children. I don't know why people find that hard to believe and just say all types of ridiculous things. Come on, y'all. So you mean to tell me, they're saying this man is 37 years old? That is a hard ass 37 years. Let's pause it right there. Take a look at that picture on the right-hand side of the screen and just tell me, in your honest opinion, tell me that he looks like he's 37. I would believe it if you told me he was 73 before I would believe 37. You look at me and look at him. I'm almost 3 to 4 years older than him. I'm in my 40s. Older than him. Why does he look like he's old enough to be my father in the face? Speaking of angle grinders, it looked like somebody took a weed whacker to his face. Like, was a hard meth life out here for us. That is crazy. There's no way he's 37, but that's what they're claiming. We're going to have to go with that. Sheriff Judd, so I'm assuming that's Sheriff Grady Judd because this is Polk County, so yes, it is. So shout out to Sheriff Judd. Gave preliminary details about the investigation on scene. The following is an let me see. Maybe I can skip some of this. On September the 4th, 2023, at approximately 11:15 hours, I don't know how you calculate that. I think that's in the morning. Thomas Rada called 911 to report he found his grandson, Stephen Lee Rada, 16 years old, unresponsive in a pool of blood. The Polk County deputies and Polk County EMS responded to the scene and found Stephen Lee Rada, the victim, deceased in the dining area of the residence. The victim suffered a deep laceration to the underside of his left arm, lacerations to his left eyebrow and left ear, superficial lacerations to his abdomen, and 3 deep lacerations to the back of his head. That's what happened to this young man. If you ask me, that you can't do something like that unless you absolutely hate a person. And that sounds like hate, extreme rage, and jealousy. Now, I'm curious, are people going to break out their whistles and cry foul and say that this man was suffering from some type of mental illness, y'all? Y'all want to give him an excuse? When he took a grinder wheel that's supposed to be used probably on metal and took that to his son's head to the point to where he had 3 deep lacerations to the back of his head on top of everywhere else he was cut up on his body. The victim was missing some teeth, which were located near his body. Sounds like he was probably hit in the face too. Apparent human hair was found in the victim's left hand, so it sounded like he tried to fight back. Blood splatter was visible on the wall near his body and head. A handheld angle grinder. Do y'all know what that looks like? Let me see if I can bring that up real quick. Handheld angle grinder. Wow. So, okay, these are not the small itty bitty ones that I was using at my job. These look like they're a little bit bigger. Let me see if I can show y'all on my screen. Look at this. This is just one random one I pulled off of Amazon. Y'all see how big that is? Let me give you an example. Let me show one that's actually being held in somebody's hand. Look at that. Look at how big that is. That is huge. That's not the little Peasley one that I was using at my old job. I just wanted y'all to see that, just for context. Blood splatter was visible on the wall near his body and head. The handheld angle grinder was located next to the victim, with a broken saw blade on the ground. While on scene, I learned that Thomas Rada, Stephen Lee Rada, the victim, and Stephen Thomas Rada, the suspect, all live in the same dwelling as a family unit. Thomas advised on this day he left the residence at approximately 800 hours to visit his wife at the Palm Gardens Rehabilitation Center. When he left the residence, only Stephen Lee Rada, the victim, and Stephen Thomas Rada, the suspect, were at the residence. He left the rehab center at approximately 10:30 hours and returned home. When he returned home, the suspect was standing outside and asked Thomas Rada for a cigarette. The suspect then told Thomas Rada not to go inside the residence, that he just killed somebody. So he didn't even say he killed his son. He said somebody, as if his son was a nobody. The suspect then told Thomas Rada he should probably call the police. Thomas Rada entered the residence and found the victim deceased in a pool of blood in the dining room floor. When Thomas Rada exited the house, the suspect was gone. At approximately 11:34 hours, deputies located the suspect walking west along Highway 60 near Westlake Wales Road North. The suspect had blood on his jeans and a fresh laceration on the knuckle of his right hand index finger. He was taken into custody without incident. Rada was booked into the Polk County Jail and attended a first appearance hearing on Tuesday afternoon, September 5th, 2023, and he is being held, obviously, with no bond. I don't know what kind of argument they got into or what type of, what type of crack rage he went into to do this to his son, but it is just absolutely not worth it, man. Just terrible. Let me give you guys the fair usage real quick. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. If you guys would do me a favor and hit that thumbs up when you come in, it always helps us share these videos and let more people know where to find them. That thumbs up helps us tremendously, so hit that thumbs up. Here we go.
All right, thanks for that. A father accused of killing his own son in Polk County has been ordered to remain behind bars. He faced a judge today, and News Channel 8's Polk County Bureau Stacy DeSilva was there and has more from the sheriff's office in Winter Haven with the latest.
The Polk County Sheriff calls this a horrific murder. Stephen Rada accused of killing his own son with his same first name, a 16-year-old boy also named Stephen.
The next case is Stephen Rada.
37-year-old Stephen Thomas Rada with some bizarre, unprovoked responses in court Tuesday.
I have a pardon from Montana, and my name is Michael Olney.
All right, I'll appoint the public defender's office to represent you, sir.
I own the NFL as well, so.
He is facing a charge of first-degree murder, accused of killing his own son.
Being a capital felony, you'll be held no bond.
This was the scene Monday in Lake Wales, where Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd says Rada killed his 16-year-old son, Stephen Lee Rada, with an angle grinder, a type of power tool. According to the sheriff, the boy...
Let's keep going.
Grandfather came home to find his son, the adult Stephen Rada, outside the house. He told the grandfather he killed somebody inside. Deputies were called to the scene and located Stephen Rada walking on Highway 60.
It breaks our heart. There aren't adequate words to explain how horrific this event is.
According to his arrest affidavit, Rada made conflicting statements to deputies about his son, the victim. The sheriff says Rada had a history of methamphetamine use since high school and was prone to psychotic episodes.
We lost a great young man, and we've got an evil, evil man in custody, and we're going to do our best to see that he spends the rest of his life in prison.
The sheriff says Stephen Rada, the 16-year-old victim, was an 11th grader at Frostproof Middle Senior High School who was training to be an electrician. His father is now being held on no bond for his murder. Reporting in...
So his son wanted to be an electrician. I'm telling you, his son was going to be 100 times better than what his dad was. That is so sad, man.
He's charged with brutally murdering his own child, and things took a bizarre turn when he faced a judge this afternoon. 37-year-old Stephen Rada is accused of using a power saw to kill his 16-year-old son. And as Fox 13's Evan Axelbank shows us, Rada made some outlandish statements in court.
This is the most serious kind of charge one can face, a charge of capital murder. But the suspect made little sense when he spoke to the judge. Stephen Lee Rada's first courtroom impression didn't earn him any leeway from the judge.
I have a pardon from Montana, and my name is Michael Olney.
All right, I'll appoint the public defender's office to represent you, sir.
All right, I own the NFL as well, so.
I've reviewed the probable cause affidavit. I find there is probable cause to hold you on this charge. and being a capital felony, you'll be held no bond.
Sheriff Grady Judd reacted to Rada's behavior in much more colorful fashion.
We know that he's an evil, evil person.
Polk deputies say Rada used a power saw to slash his own son to death at their home on Old Bartow Road. His son had the same name, Stephen, but was by all accounts an upstanding, caring teen who had aspirations of becoming an electrician.
It breaks our heart. There aren't adequate words to explain how horrific this event is.
Rada's initial nonsensical appearance may foreshadow his legal strategy. Legal analyst Anthony Rickman expects lawyers will argue he is mentally ill to the point he can't determine right from wrong. The death penalty is at stake.
The state will have experts evaluating him. He'll have his own experts evaluating him. And these experts are trained and skilled to determining whether or not a person is faking insanity.
But Rickman expects that the state will point out that he was captured by deputies a mile away after fleeing the scene, and that deputies wrote in their report about what he said to his father and the victim's grandfather.
So do y'all think he's going to be able to get off on an insanity, mental illness? Because it don't sound like they are. Like, it seems like with men, they go off of logic and facts. Just being honest with you guys. When men are the ones that are being accused of capital murder and stuff like this, when they're potentially facing whether they are criminally insane or suffering from mental illness, it seems like the courts base it off of logic and facts. When it seems like with women, they always ask about their emotional state. Like, they're checking on their emotions. And I'm thinking, like, anybody who would do something like this is going to be emotional and probably whacked out of their mind. But I don't think that's an excuse. And that cannot continue to be an excuse used in court. So, no, I don't think he should get off. They're probably not going to let him get off. But I don't think anybody should get off when these scenarios come up. Like, don't sit there and talk about their history of mental illness after they hurt somebody. Like, I don't want to hear that. Like, if they got mental illness, they shouldn't be around children, period, if they present a danger to them.
Beck then said to not go inside the residence and that he just killed somebody. The suspect then told Thomas Rada he should probably call the police.
They're going to say this person knew that he did something wrong. He walked out, said, call 911.
The Polk County Sheriff's Office says it is still investigating this case, but that it had no new information to release about it today. In Polk County, Evan Axelbank, Fox 13 News.
An awful story here in Lake Wales. This 16-year-old, who by all accounts had a big heart and a bright future, is dead now after deputies say his father brutally murdered him. Stephen Rada was staying with his granddad to help him out when investigators say Stephen's father killed him with a power saw. The sheriff calls the man evil and says because of him, a bright light in this community is gone. Fox 13's Aaron Mesmer is in Lake Wales with more.
An absolutely horrific situation in a Lake Wales neighborhood, and nearly 12 hours later, there are still more questions than answers. Topping the list, why did this father kill his son? Stephen Rada was 16 years old, full of life, and with a full life ahead of him, according to Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd.
He was just a stand-up, stellar young man.
Sheriff Judd says Stephen was living with his grandfather to help out while his grandmother was in rehab. As for the teenager's father, also named Stephen, the sheriff says he wasn't around much.
His dad had just shown up about a month ago.
Late Monday morning, the grandfather returned to his home on Old Bartow Road in Lake Wales. The elder Stephen was waiting outside.
And his quote was, "I wouldn't go in there if I was you. I killed someone."
Investigators say the person he killed was his son. We're told he used an angle grinder, a type of electrical saw, to do it. Detectives haven't yet determined why.
It breaks our heart. There aren't adequate words to explain how horrific this event is.
But for Sheriff Judd, there are always words to describe people like the suspect, who he says was a career criminal. We're told he tried to get away, but deputies caught him about a mile away.
The family has reported that he's psychotic. He's got a history all the way back to high school of using methamphetamine. And you go, well, he might have had a mental health issue. Well, of course he did. People don't murder people unless they're nutso.
The sheriff says it's a crime that left a family broken. And although there aren't many answers so far, investigators say this is what they do know.
We know that he's an evil, evil person. We know that he murdered his son today. And that son was a beautiful 16-year-old person.
And this comes a little more than a week after a mother killed her 2 children in what the sheriff's office has called an apparent murder-suicide. And Sheriff Grady Judd says in his long career in law enforcement, he can't remember a time when parents killed their children in 2 separate crimes just 8 days apart. In Polk County, Aaron Mesmer, Fox 13.
Details tonight, this father is accused of brutally killing his own son over the holiday weekend in Polk County. Deputies say he used a power saw to kill his 16-year-old son.
Thank you, sir.
All right, I own the NFL as well, so.
I reviewed the probable cause affidavit. I find there is probable cause to hold you on this charge. In being a capital felony, you'll be held no bond.
Sheriff Grady Judd reacted to Rada's behavior in much more colorful fashion.
We know that he's an evil, evil person.
Polk deputies say Rada used a power saw to slash his own son to death at their home on Old Bartow Road. His son had the same name, Stephen, but was by all accounts an upstanding, caring teen who had aspirations of becoming an electrician.
It breaks our heart. There aren't adequate words to explain how horrific this event is.
Rada's initial nonsensical appearance may foreshadow his legal strategy. Legal analyst Anthony Rickman expects lawyers will argue he is mentally ill to the point he can't determine right from wrong. The death penalty is at stake.
The state will have experts evaluating him. He'll have his own experts evaluating him. And these experts are trained and skilled to determining whether or not a person is faking insanity.
But Rickman
Then he's a nasty, nasty, evil person.
This is the 16-year-old victim, Stephen Rada, who was killed Monday morning in Lake Wells by his father, who shares the same name. According to Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd, the Frostproof high school student was living with his grandfather and had a lot to look forward to in life.
He was to start work next week at Burger King to earn money so that he could buy a car.
He was also studying to be an electrician, which was his dream job. His life cut short by the very person who was supposed to protect him.
Well, on this particular morning, Thomas Rada, the grandfather, left about 8 o'clock to go visit with his wife in rehab.
And that's when Sheriff Judd says the father showed up at the house and killed his own son with an angle grinder, which is a handheld power tool. When the grandfather returned home around 11 a.m., he says he was unexpectedly met outside with the suspect, his son.
And his quote was, "I wouldn't go in there if I was you."
Let's just stop that right there. I mean, both of these guys, like, I can't tell which one is which. Like, these guys are probably both under the age of 45 years old. Look old as hell. But nonetheless, man, it's just really, really sad. For whatever reason he did this, I'm going to just assume that it was probably something along the lines of jealousy, because this young man had love, had respect from his friends and peers, and he knew that he was going to grow up and become something great, and this man wanted to cut him down. Whether it's this man or the other man, I don't know the difference. But his father ended his life, and that's just really, really sad. And, you know, if he gets the death penalty, I'm not going to be against it. Life sentence. It should be nothing less than a life sentence. But to this young man, young Prince, R.I.P. So if he has other siblings, I really, really hope that they pull through and that they can get past this and they can grow up and become something great. So keep the family in your prayers. And for those who were involved in his demise, like I said, man, I hope they get the fullest penalty under law in the state of Florida. So Sheriff Grady Judd, he's going to take care of it. I have ultimate faith in him. But let me know what you guys think about this story, if I got something wrong or if there's something more that you want to add to it. That's what the comment section's for. Let's work together, AFC, and we'll continue to keep spreading as much positivity and as much of this news and try to get justice for these babies, okay? Thank you.